Hey, welcome everybody. It is Talking Niagara. It is Spin Legal time, 6 p.m. on Tuesday, and we've got a show for you today. So here's the question. Here's a key question about everything. What are your legal rights when stopped for speeding or any other traffic offense, right? An important thing to know what your driving rights are. And
driving rights, like when you drive me up the wall or something like that, is that included?
I never drive you up the wall. It never happens, Angela. It's a figment of your own imagination. No, we're talking about when you go out in your Ferrari and
you're
burn up the streets, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know you've got a Ferrari. You're a secret Ferrari lover, aren't you? You've got one. You've got one secured somewhere. I know it. I've just got to find it yet.
Yep.
Okay. So here we go. So if you need to contact Invictus Legal LLP, you can do so on 905-688-5598. You can email her, Angela, at weareinvictus.legal, or him, Peter, at weareinvictus.legal, or you can contact our website at weareinvictus.legal. There you go.
Yeah.
So the topic of today is driving laws and infractions. What are my rights?
Yep.
I didn't do it, your office, Mr. Officer. I didn't. Honest, I didn't. It was Joey going the other way. But there's not a person to be seen in a million miles. We've heard it all before, haven't we?
Yes, there's a lot of things like that. Or they said, oh, this was my first offense. And then we go to court and we find out they've got a pile of that.
Yeah, not only
we
first
still got to deal with it. Right? We still have to.
Not only first offense, but 1,001st offense.
Yeah. And it's very important if this happens and you go visit a paralegal or a lawyer that you have to be absolutely honest about it.
Yeah.
Okay? If it was your 15th offense, please say so.
Yeah.
Okay? We don't care. We're not going to judge you. We're here to defend you.
Yeah. It just makes things difficult because on a first offense, for example, you may well have there may also be some leeway played by the prosecution. On your 150th offense, the prosecution's going to be looking at banging you away.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
So there's some elements here where we're looking at the Highway Traffic Act.
Yeah,
exactly. There's different parts to the Highway Traffic Act where we have that there's.
So when you go out and walk across the street and walk to the bank or the post office or the shop, are you governed by the Highway Traffic Act?
Yep.
Absolutely you are, yeah.
Signals. Even if you're a bicyclist, you're governed by the Highway Traffic Act. You're considered a vehicle.
Yeah, and the same actually with those, whether you're driving a car, a bicycle, a motorbike, an RV, those little new scooters and electric e-bikes you can see around. They're all governed under the Highway Traffic Act.
Yep, you'll see a lot of times people get very frustrated because all of these ways and means of getting around, you have to work together so that everybody can get around and that traffic runs smoothly.
Yeah.
It's when sometimes there are conflicts, it becomes a problem.
Yeah. Okay, let's look at some of the key parts of the Highway Traffic Act. Part 9, sections 128 to 132 handles speed limits, careless driving and related rules. Part 10 deals with sections 133 to 191, outlines the rules of the road, rights of way, signals, intersections, parking, and other things.
Yep. Like when you're riding a bike, you do have to signal. People don't realize that.
Yeah. And you also have to stop at traffic lights.
Yeah. Maybe in Niagara they don't have the signal. Maybe there's an exception here. I don't know.
There seems to be a rule. There seems to be a load of cyclists that don't believe in stopping at traffic lights or speed or stop signs.
Yeah, and this has to change because it's important people know the rules of the road if they're going to go out on anything, whether they're going to drive a car, whether you're going to go out and drive your bike. Doesn't matter. You want to know the rules of the road. So first of all, A, it keeps you out of accidents. And B, it also cooperates with other road users so that traffic flows smoothly.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on, section 14.1 lays out the rules for radar, photo radar, automatic speed enforcement, and how these systems are treated.
Oh, aren't they wonderful?
But of course, it's important to know there's a difference between those and red light camera systems, which are laid out in part 14.2 of
They're
the
looking at
Highway
different things, different types of infractions.
Yeah, and this covers red light cameras, how evidence is gathered on red light cameras, and how tickets are issued, and how the photographic evidence is validated. Right?
Yep.
So that's all governed by part 14.2 of the Highway Traffic Act.
Yep. And it also shows that you cannot just try to obstruct or obscure your license plate. Okay? You can't be doing that. You can't just put a little bit of dirt on it so your license plate isn't clear. You can't do that.
Yeah, but plenty of people do.
Yep, I've seen it happen, and people can be charged just for that.
There are actually screens. You know, if this were a see-through screen that was about the size of your license plate, that you can put on, that bolts to the car, in the same way as a license plate bolts to the car, and actually can, you know, these screens, some of them are just there to keep your license plate covered. Others are actually there to obscure the cameras.
Yep. And then actually you can be told to take that off, and you can be fined for that. So you have to be very, very careful about that, because it's very important, because your car is known by the license plate.
Yeah.
And when you go through these photo radar or red light cameras, they rely on your license plate to know how to reach you.
Yeah.
And because it identifies the vehicle. Yes, maybe sometimes it's your son driving or your spouse driving or whatever, and it's not you driving the car that you own. Hey, but still the red light camera is sent to the owner, and the owner is responsible for the car.
Yeah. Okay. So if you're caught committing a driving offense, what do you do?
Well, particularly you get the ticket, bring it to a paralegal, okay? And or if it's something that's not that serious, just pay the fine. You have a choice. It says right on the back of the ticket, you can pay the fine, or you can go fight the ticket in court and request a trial.
Okay, so you covering those two particular offences. Exactly, the traffic ticket, you can pay the fine or fight the ticket. So, for example, if the fine is I don't know, and don't remember any specific amounts, but let's say you've got $180 fine, and there's no demerit points.
Yeah. And this is where you have to consider yourself, if you are going to choose to pay the ticket, that you're automatically pleading guilty if you're paying the ticket. And there may be demerit points on the ticket.
Well, I was going to say there's two parts to that, because there's demerit points which are charged by the province.
Yeah, and we can't do anything about it. You can't go to court and fight and get a deal.
So if your police officer gives you a ticket and it's got 3 demerit points on it, you're going to get 3 demerit points.
Yeah. Okay, unless you fight the ticket and then talk to a paralegal, and they will show you and try to get the demerit points out, or to set up a charge that would not be with demerit points.
Yeah. And the other thing is, so you can pay the fine, but you pay the fine, and it's just a fine of $180, let's say. How does that impact your insurance? How does that impact your driving license?
And that's another thing you have to think about: insurance. Okay, insurance likes to look at people if they have a record of driving offenses. Your insurance rates can go up, sometimes substantially so.
Yeah.
So be very, very vigilant about this when you do get tickets, because
So
it
if
affects you
you've
when you
got,
do demerit points. If you start collecting too many of them, you might risk your
well,
ticket.
we'll come back to demerit points
Yeah.
in a minute, right? So the payment of the fine is, so you get a penalty for $180, let's say, and then 6 months or a year later, you get another penalty for $85, and 6 months or a year later, other than that, you'll get another penalty for $180 again. Now, you've had 3 penalties in less than 3 years. That has to have an impact upon your insurance,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So,
Insurance would know about this
yeah,
because this is something they get informed because you pay the ticket and then you will be informing your insurance, or the insurance gets informed.
yeah. But
And
okay, so
because they can easily look at your record, you know.
yeah.
They,
So if
they
you decide to fight the ticket, what's the option there?
You can
So
fight the ticket. You can go in there and you can talk to the prosecutor and see if you can get the ticket talked down. Okay, that's sometimes possible, but doing it yourself is something you may not necessarily know the proper way to do it, because you have to consider things like demerits, your insurance, different things like that, and what would be the alternative offense that would be less punitive to you.
yeah,
Okay? But as a paralegal who would know the Highway Traffic Act well, we would know, would be in a position to know what alternative offense is. And we would also be able to go over your disclosure to see, hey, we could fight this ticket. I bet you that officer, they didn't even calibrate their speeding guns. They didn't do
right.
this.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an important thing you've just said right there.
Mhm.
I watched a a disclosure video for a traffic stop that happened in Brampton. As it happens, it's immaterial where it happened, but this video was for a traffic stop in Brampton, and essentially the car was basically went through on the inside lane of a 4-lane highway where the cop was turning left, and you could hear the click 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 of the indicators in the actual in the video. And he goes out and chases that person who, I won't say blew the lights, because he didn't. The lights had already turned green. That was clear from the video. But he then chased this person who he perceived as having broken the speed limit. And as he caught up with the guy and stopped the guy, a whole heap of things went on. So you see the whole video about the stop, the talk, and you can hear a lot of that evidence, right? You can hear absolutely everything that's going on. And the interesting thing is, this camera is on the dashboard of the police cruiser.
Mm-hmm.
And it picks up the sound of the person taking the driver's driving license, etc. The discussion in the car between the cop and another cop that happened to be sitting in there, etc., etc. But I don't know what he was doing, but maybe he was training somebody. I don't know. It's possible.
Sometimes what they would do is they would go back and then check your license and registration to make sure it's legit.
They have to, right?
And look at it. Does it look like you? Who are you? You know, that sort of thing. Does the car with the right person?
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. Has it been reported stolen? They can find that out in 50 seconds flat.
Absolutely. But again, the other thing about that is, for example, if a black man's driving a white woman's car, for example, and it's owned by Mary Jones, but this person who's been stopped is Mark Jones, and he's black, but she's white, right? And you can tell that sort of thing on the actual, when you do the record check, right? How would they know that there's not necessarily an assumption there that he stole the car.
No,
He
There
has,
shouldn't be.
there
Like,
should,
has Mary reported the car stolen?
yeah, yeah. And Mark and Mary married. Who
Yeah,
knows,
they're married,
right?
okay? Or they could be brother and sister. Who knows? You
Exactly,
know, there's a
exactly.
lot of different things why he might be driving her car.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And the fact that a person's a different color than one person's a different color than another is immaterial as well.
Yeah, there are interracial type of relationships or even families
Yeah.
sometimes where they have like baby
Well,
adoption.
and hey, one of them could be an adopted child, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly. It happens.
they could be brother and sister, but of an adopted child. So
Yeah.
it's important to remember that the rules are that you can't make assumptions like that.
Yeah.
All right. So as you said, you can pay the fine or fight the ticket. Sometimes you can, in terms of fighting the ticket, what can often happen is stage one of fighting the ticket might well be negotiate a lower offense.
Yep.
Now,
Sometimes
if
the
you've
prosecutor's
got,
willing to make a deal because like there's so many of these tickets written that if they tried every one of them and gave a trial to every single ticket that's written, hey, our courts would be backed up till doomsday.
yeah, and okay, so you're fighting the ticket. You've got a automatic 3-point penalty and a $380 fine plus a 20% victim surcharge, right? Which will always happens to all
All
penalties.
tickets, yeah.
Yeah. Now, at this point, it's not you've got the 3 points hanging over you. So this is a point for potential negotiation, because hey, I've already got 9 points already on my license, and those 9 points are actually old, and they're just about to come off next month.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Surely that's something you can negotiate, Angela.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And
sometimes what can happen is you can just say, okay, I don't want to have more points added on, because if you start collecting too many points, there's consequences.
well, it's not only that. For example, if you actually have a driving job, that could impact your ability to earn.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, especially if you're in a commercial vehicle and you drive, there's a requirement of a clean record, okay, from the employer's perspective. So things like that are very important.
Yeah.
Okay, and even if you're not a commercial driver, people need their vehicles for whatever, and you don't want to have a suspended license for any reason, okay? Because there's usually a warning, and then there's a mandatory interview, and then after that there could be a
Well,
suspension. There's various
yeah,
steps that could be taken with if you start
that's
collecting too many points.
yeah. This is when you're talking now about demerit points, because
Yeah,
they have an impact on your license ultimately.
yeah, and this is where, and this stays on your record if you start getting a suspension. You know, this is one of the things. Points can disappear after a certain period of time.
Yeah.
But if you start getting a suspension, that can be put on your record. Okay, then in 5 years later, oh, I had a similar suspension in the past. So if you go back to court and fight it, it might be a heavier sentence for you.
Yeah. Okay. So points, the demerit points disappear after a period of time. That's typically 6 years, isn't it?
I think 3, but I'm
I
not. Yeah,
was reading somewhere 6, but okay,
6. Yeah,
maybe I got
yeah,
it wrong.
6. Yeah, because it depends on how. Like if you're a G2 driver, the points have a bigger impact, as you can get away with less points.
Well, actually, absolutely, because, for example, if you're a G2 driver, driving while under the influence there's a zero tolerance policy for that.
Yeah, yeah, you can't be drinking and driving at all.
Yeah,
Okay?
at all. Yeah,
Yeah,
and you're right that, for example, if you're only a G2 driver, whilst you can drive on your own, your the penalties can be quite severe.
yeah, exactly. And this has happened. I've seen people that have happened, and I've had to defend them within the Highway Traffic Act system. And working with the prosecutor, you have to be a little bit more sensitive with respect to the absolute penalties that could be experienced by the client.
Yeah. Okay.
And yes, Highway Traffic Act offenses, many of them can put a person in jail.
Yeah. Okay.
Not in a criminal way, but you still go to jail.
Yeah. Okay. So just looking at my, okay. So what rights do road users have in this regard?
Well, they have a right to fight their ticket. They also have a right, if an officer stops them, you do have to present your license and registration, so forth, but you also have a right not to say anything further to the officer.
Yeah. And in fact, actually, it's probably very often, I think it's a wise idea not to say anything.
Yeah.
Those quick, you know, okay. So, well, I would say don't say anything at all. It's best to just say hello, goodbye, thank you, those kinds of just be reasonable.
You'll write out the ticket.
Yeah.
Then you look at the ticket. Okay, when I get home, I'm going to call a paralegal and get this sorted.
Yeah, and there's lots of traffic specialist paralegals around. You can call Justin at our office always.
Justin is our traffic ticket specialist at Invictus.
Yeah. Okay, so in terms of, we talked about the license impact if you get demerit points. Now, with demerit points, just to go through that, if you accumulate 6 points, you get a warning letter, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you get 9 points, you get a mandatory interview. Okay, so what does a mandatory interview mean?
Well, it's like a reprimand. You got to show up.
Are you going in front of a justice of the peace or a policeman or what?
I think it's more or less somebody from the ministry. I'm not sure. I've never, ever experienced this.
Yeah.
And people can end up with...
Can a person be represented if they're going in front of one of these?
Oh, they can be represented in most places, and you might want to represent them. Yeah. Sometimes there's issues, but if there is a charge, these points are ministry directed. Got to remember that. Yeah. Right? You can go to court and fight all you want, even if the crown prosecutor wants to help you, right, and wants you to not have points and wants to come up with an agreement. They cannot change the fact that if an offense is registered that carries points, will carry points.
Yeah.
Right? Because it is a ministry decision, not a court decision.
Okay, so 15 or more points earns you a 30-day suspension.
Yeah.
So that means that you're not allowed to use your car, drive in your car.
You can't. And
you can't even polish the car in the driveway.
Yeah. And they might even take your car. Sometimes if there's, especially stop roadside, some types of offenses, they could stop your roadside and then take your car and impound it.
Okay. So you've gone through that cycle, and now you've gotten out the other side of a 30-day suspension, and you commit another offense.
Yep. And then that could be put, and you can get a more severe penalty, which could be
the police. So in that particular instance, the police, when they're doing a record check on their computer, will flag up immediately that you have you've had a recent suspension.
Yep. Because this is what happens. He says, "Oh, your driver's license is suspended." Oh, gee, I didn't know that.
Yeah, like you didn't go to court to hear that one.
Exactly. Like this is it's very important. There's a lot of stuff that you have to be really careful with driving. Yeah. A lot of rules.
Yeah.
And especially in the motor vehicle. Other vehicles, yes, you have to follow rules too, like your stoplights, your signaling, and where you drive, like you don't take bicycle and drive on the sidewalk, okay? And you don't take one of those electric e-bikes and drive on the sidewalk. And nor do you go right and interfering with traffic. You don't weave in and out of traffic, out of car traffic. That's also interfering with traffic, because that's what a lot of drivers don't like.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about another one. Another one here. Automated speeding in community safety zones.
Yep. Also working construction zones too. If you got people working and then you're still speeding, that's double. That doubles you up.
So if it was $150 ticket, you'd get a $300 ticket.
Yeah, exactly.
And a doubling up of the victim surcharge as well.
Yep, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, and it could also be a more severe penalty too, because you're going, and also around schools. Speeding around a school zone during a school day.
Yeah.
And you see kids going across the road, and here you are speeding along the road and going 80 miles an hour. That's trouble.
Okay. So let's talk about one. Okay. So let's talk about these dreaded red light cameras. Right. Yeah. So you're at the stoplight, you're at the red light. That's what it means, a stoplight, which means you're not going anywhere, right? Mm-hmm. And there's certain requirements about these, because they have to be tested for speed. There's all manners of, so you look up the requirements. There's a whole heap of requirements around these, mm-hmm. right? Take my word for it. You need to go figure it out anyway.
Yeah, like here's people just driving along, and you're going calmly, and then going down the street, and one of these red light cameras are there, but you may or may not know it. But the light is red, but you say, I don't see a single soul around. I can just go right through it.
Yeah.
What do you think will happen?
You might not cause an accident, but
you'll get caught.
But it's illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This is actually one of those.
They're trying to catch those people who are doing that, because they're trying to prevent accidents, even though you didn't cause an accident or hurt anybody. Yeah. But who knows?
Well, that's the point. That's the point, of course, Angela, is that the fact that you go through a red light is the time at which you're most likely to cause an accident, because that's the point whereby, yes, you looked right, yes, you looked left, and you looked right again, and you looked left again. Bang, when you go out there, right?
Yeah, because there may be another car that you're going in there speeding along on the other side in the intersection. Yeah. And you don't see them right away, and bang.
Yeah.
So things can happen. Okay, so that's what they're trying to capture, and they got your license plate. We'll send you a thing with the typical fine. Could you fight against a red light camera fine? Probably not, if it's yours. I think your only defense is maybe identification. Do they have the right vehicle?
Well, actually, there are a number of things, because, for example, the specifications of the camera type, i.e., that it's got to be something like a TrafiStar camera, has to be, and the camera and the camera has to be what do you call it? Regulated. It has to be inspected on a regular basis. So
calibrated properly, so you're not.
That's the word I was looking for. Thank you.
Yeah. And yes, and you can get that information about the last time it's been calibrated and all this other stuff.
And that all of that information is actually double checked before they send the red light ticket out. So when you've got an offence that is from a red light camera, you know that A, it's identified as you, and B, the camera, all of those things about the validity of the camera, it's all been calibrated and everything like that. It has been. Right?
Yep.
You can challenge it.
Yep. Like people generally who will come into the office, and I said, okay, is this your license plate? Person says yes, and that's my car. But I don't remember speeding through a red light. And I said, but this must have been on this intersection. Have you been to that part of town? And I said, well, I wasn't in town, but my wife was. Okay, but unfortunately, they don't go by the driver, they go by the vehicle. And this is sometimes you can go in and you can talk to find down. So instead of being paid, say, $400, you can talk it down to say 150.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ways of working on the red light cameras and to try to reduce it. But the red light cameras, they don't have, they don't go around playing with the points and all that stuff. They're just a fine, period. They're called what they call the administrative monetary penalty.
Well, I was going to say that's where we're going next. Automated speed cameras are not the same as detection cameras. Automated speed cameras actually operate, they're administered by municipalities, and most of them are operated through through the AMP system.
Yeah. And the nice thing, the municipalities love them, but people hate them. The municipalities make tons of money out of them.
Yeah. Well, and that actually leads us to another question, because the question that a friend of mine posed a while ago is, what is the consequences? Okay, so the red light camera comes and you say, my vehicle, but I wasn't driving.
Mm-hmm.
Right? For example, if it's your husband, wife, you can't be forced to testify against them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Therefore, what can they do about collecting that penalty? Can you get away with not paying it?
The only time I knew that a red light camera was beaten was when the plate that was on the car was actually switched over. It was the wrong plate, for some reason. I forget what the reason was, but it was something that was able to be proven.
Yeah.
Okay. And then once they figured that out, they
like your plates were stolen.
Yeah. Someone, I forget what it was, why the plate was there. Was some reason for that.
So it's a plate that came off a 2019 Toyota Camry, and it was placed onto a 2020 Toyota Camry, but the original car was actually a red Camry, and the person who committed the offense is driving a black Camry.
Yep, exactly. And this is the wrong plate.
Yeah.
So
it's your plate, you get the ticket, but it wasn't you driving it.
Yeah. So there was somebody else driving a car, but somehow they had your plate on it. So I mean, these are things that can happen, but it was not very frequently.
Yeah. Okay. Right. The failure to pay administrative penalty systems usually means that you end up with the money being added to your tax bill.
I have seen it where you could have issues with renewing or changing over your plates at the end of the year. Like, even though you don't pay to do that in itself, but you need to pay your fine so that you can do this free service.
Yeah. Okay. So one of those two things will apply.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which, and it might well depend upon which area you're in, and what precisely your penalty was.
Yeah, because in terms of adding on to your taxes, not everybody pays municipal property taxes directly. Like, what if you're a renter?
Yeah.
Right. So that's why, next time you have to renew your plates or renew your license, ta-da! Surprise.
Okay, so I got a nice little case for you. Have you heard of the case of R.V. Harrison, 2009, from the Supreme Court of Canada?
Yep.
Right. So this basically it's a case of charter rights, and evidence established through series of violations of rights, unreasonable searches, etc., that carried on in terms of what was in a motor vehicle, because the driver happened to be carrying, I think, marijuana on the vehicle at a time when marijuana was actually illegal. And the Harrison basically follows the ruling in was in Grant about what can be excluded for evidence.
Yeah, like the thing is, if they're stopping you for speeding, and it's a legitimate stop for speeding,
yeah,
you can't say, I see this guy has some marijuana in his car, and then start charging for marijuana.
yeah.
You know, like there's always these reasonable grounds and different things like that, but there are charter violations because that's almost an intrusion when you're doing it that way. So
Yeah,
unless you had reasonable grounds to stop them for trafficking marijuana or cocaine or whatever, this is going to be an issue that could be faced in court.
Yeah, because the whole point is that, did he commit the speeding offense? Let's say, take it was a speeding offense, right? Yes, he did, right? He was doing 65 in a 50 zone, right?
Yeah, just give him the ticket.
But then you give him the ticket and that's it. End of story, right?
Yep, so that's it. And then if there's something else that happens and you hear about trafficking and that sort of thing, then there would have to be reasonable grounds to pull them over and search.
But okay, so it could get quite serious though, couldn't it? Because what happens if the person's got a dead body in the back seat?
Oh my God!
Right?
Does that happen frequently?
I'm sure it doesn't. I'm sure it doesn't. But I just had to kind of go for the oddity in the room, didn't I?
Yeah, like that would be very odd. And this is one of the things I've never seen tested. I've seen it tested when there were drugs, for automated traffic stops, but I've never seen it tested for something like that. But it would be interesting to see, about it and what would be there. But I assume there would be telewarrants involved.
I don't know.
There would have to be reasonable grounds too, that you think that this person was involved in something that they shouldn't have been.
Yeah. And
you can't just go in there and it says, I feel like just getting a warrant because I just like to break into this guy's house and be nosy.
And again, here's the question. So just because you see somebody, what looks like a body lying on the back seat of the car, doesn't mean it's a murder victim on the back seat of the car.
Yeah, it might actually be one of those dolls that some people get.
Right. And then it becomes a question about reasonableness of that search, doesn't it? Because
exactly.
Hey, you might have heard that 30 miles up the road that way, and this car's coming this way, that there was a murder.
Yeah, doesn't mean to say and the guy took off in a blue Chevy Tempa, so that they took that off and they said, oh, this is a car just like the one that's being reported.
Yeah.
And the driver looks like he's wearing a hat, he's got blonde hair, whatever, okay, there may be reasonable grounds to pull him over, but there has to be something. There can't be just something that says, I just feel like being nosy just because the driver's black and black people are always involved in drugs, so I'm going to go and check this. There was another case I remember. There was some guy was in kind of a rough part of Toronto. He was in a parking lot. He was a black man, and he was very well dressed. And he was in a very expensive car, like a Mercedes or something. And he was doing some paperwork. And then police were going in there just because they wanted to be nosy. At that time, they were stopping guys who were driving while black or sitting in parking lots while black.
That's a horrible.
So they stole about, and they found out he was a criminal defense lawyer.
Yeah.
Right? So things like that. That's why you just don't do that sort of thing. You have to have reasonable grounds to go and do this.
Yeah. So basically, the rule in Harrison is that evidence that's improperly obtained can be excluded, and that's a general. In fact, actually, in most criminal proceedings in common law jurisdictions, you will find that most evidence that most evidence of that nature will be excluded.
Yep, exactly, because this is charter rights. It's a right to unreasonable search and seizure.
Yeah.
Okay, which is upheld by the courts, and it goes all the way to the Supreme Court of Canada. So these things, so they cannot do this.
Yeah.
But if they catch you speeding, yes, they can charge you with speeding.
Yeah. Okay, so so you can challenge evidence though in traffic tickets.
Yes, you can challenge evidence. You can challenge the credibility of the police officer. And if the police officer comes off that he doesn't have a lot of credibility or a lot of good information to provide the court, there's a case of WD in terms of credibility goes on to the accused. So the accused is deemed to be credible.
Okay, so another there's a old wives' tale out there that that many paralegals go back to the court time and time again. The first thing they they go to the police, nose around and find the police officers and say, "Is Officer Jones here today?" "Oh no, he's on holiday. He's on vacation this week." Okay, so now he trots off to the prosecutor and says, I'm ready with with R versus McEachran today. Ready to proceed? I'm ready to proceed. Are you ready to proceed? To which the prosecution can't say no.
And then what tends to happen, everybody thinks that if the officer doesn't show up, that you're automatically cut off on the charge.
Right.
No,
I was going to say that's part of this urban myth.
I've encountered that a few times, and basically what happens is once or twice, yes, but if this keeps happening, the judge will say, "Hey, this is going to proceed, officer or not." But it doesn't. But one or two times they just adjourn it and they try to find out the officer's schedule. Because when they're scheduling a trial now, they actually have the officer's schedule available to them.
Yeah.
That's sent over to them by the police station.
Yeah.
So they actually know when Officer Jones is going to be available. So they schedule it for a time he can come to court. So this is a very they know the old trick. People did it before, but they don't do it.
I was pointing them out as tricks because in fact, don't believe a word you hear about these tricks. They're old wives' tales, most of them.
Yeah, and just be very, very careful who you hear it from too. You don't hear it from paralegals. You hear it on Facebook. Yeah. Facebook will tell you all sorts of things that Facebook University teaches, which, of course, most people will fail in real life if they try to use that.
Mind you, I was in court one time, and I saw the Justice of the Peace give quite a lecture to a paralegal who had who'd I think asked for an adjournment one too many times. Right, because he said, Mr. Jones, next time your show, your client will be here, and we will be hearing this matter.
Yep, exactly. And yes, they have the power to do bench warrants. Yeah. So this is where you have to be extremely careful with these things.
Yeah, and the whole point about a bench warrant, as you quite rightly said, many of these systems, if we didn't have deals being made all the time in our traffic courts, we'd be backed up for years.
Yep, exactly. So that's why prosecution sometimes will try to give out deals and they'll try to devise them. And sometimes the deal is good, sometimes it's not. And you develop a good relationship with the prosecutor, right? And sometimes you could be able to help your client.
Yeah.
Ways.
Yeah.
Okay? Like I used to work very much closely with the MTO prosecutor. Okay? And I was able to work with them, particularly for a lot of my commercial drivers, because their commercial license was very dependent on being able to still drive commercially and not end up in a lot of hot water. So we were very good. So what we've done is I worked a lot with the person's employer as well as the driver themselves, because they usually charge both. So it's very important that that these things get reviewed by a paralegal and you take it in and this sort of thing. But sometimes, though, in certain cases where we read the disclosure and there's not a lot of evidence with the facts that are being presented forward and that they're prosecuting on. Sometimes you would like to say, okay, I want to take this to trial. And you can challenge the credibility of the different witnesses that would be on the stand.
One, you see, it's very difficult. For example, if a police officer arrives at this, only arrives at the scene because there was a call. For example, you use the example of a truck driver, because the truck driver works for a business. Therefore, often truck drivers, there's automatically a call to the police. Any accident scene involving a truck driver. In fact, it'll happen to all manners of commercial drivers, whether you're driving a van, sometimes if you're a contractor, other times like if you're a taxi driver or something like that. Any accident involving any of those drivers means there's an automatic call out to the police.
Yep, exactly.
Right. Doesn't matter what the respect is of what the status is of the other driver. Police are automatically called. Right? At the end of the day, once the police are called, then likelihood is that, and they don't have to, but this is another old wives' tale out there, that once the police are called, they have to write a ticket.
Yeah.
Right. And again, and sometimes the police, it's been also known that police don't always write the right ticket.
Yeah, exactly. And that's important too. Like I had one charge that I worked with that was charged as careless because the consequences to the person who was injured in the accident was pretty severe. And my client, who was the driver, I was defending her on the careless charge. They came out there and the Crown presented me with this big, huge binder with everything. So I went through it. And there was just one key element. There's a 5-page accident reconstruction report, which was the most important thing, which raised reasonable doubt. I went through it. And then I asked to meet with the Crown at that time, with the prosecutor. And I said, I got this 5-page report here for the accident reconstruction. And the officer who did this did not see any fault with my client, did not see the client didn't have a speed issue, did not have a vision issue, came out of the curb, came out of the road at the right time. Everything was fine. But the person themselves who got injured was basically at fault. So it's so basically my client got off. He went and withdrew the charges. And the person who got injured, she tried to sue my client civilly in court. And I remember the insurance company calling me about this. And I said, well, this is what happened. I can give you the civil details, like through the court, about what happened. So basically, she wasn't able to get much from the insurance company because of a concept called contributory negligence on the part of the victim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's of course a whole different ball game, because of course that is then you're into tort and the potential.
So you don't stand out in the middle of the road, guys, and say, hi, hit me so I can sue.
But there are a few out there, right?
Yeah, there are people like that.
Yeah, there are people, sadly enough, that are like that. Okay. Anything else you want to kind of cover? A free shot at anything on traffic offences?
Well, there's a lot of different things. Like they're very common. Driving while suspended.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that actually is way too common for what it is. But I think in here, they don't have a court. They don't have a traffic court in St. Catharines anymore. So, and they used to have a traffic court in Niagara Falls, for example, because now you've got to go to Welland. So what you're going to do when you kind of go to pay your ticket, you're probably going to drive suspended down to Welland and pay it, right?
Yep. Yeah. Then they get another charge of drive suspended. They don't usually jail you the first time, but there could be jail the second time, although they could put you in jail.
Yeah.
Okay. Driving without insurance is very serious because the fines are pretty hefty.
Actually, a lot
Driving,
of that is not that you've not.
stunt driving, something called stunt driving, which
Yeah.
is, I often talk it down to a speeding type of charge, but a stunt driving is very serious and could also end you up in court, and you can lose your car
Okay.
for 7 days.
Okay.
There's a
So
lot of things that you can have that that could end up in jail, and this is why you just don't take driving on the road not seriously. You have to be very serious, be careful, not get into an accident, even be careful when pedestrians are coming out. And if you can, give them the right of way.
Yeah.
Right? Because like people are going to be stupid walking across the road. It happens. Or people on bicycles.
Mhm.
I used to drive. It used to drive me crazy with people on bicycles because they always tried to get into traffic and get right in front of you. Okay. And the thing is, they can't go as fast as a car, but they get right in front of you. Okay.
Right.
Rather than just driving alongside, yes, you can give certain, because you have to give a certain
Yeah.
space to them, but they drive right in front of you. And this is a problem. Okay. And this is why you have to be extremely careful with other road users, even other vehicles too, because other vehicles may not see you. There's blind spots, particularly if you have looking at truck drivers. They have some blind spots, so you have to try to stay out of the blind spot.
Well, plus they're way up here, right?
Yep, exactly.
Way
They
up
can't
there.
see you, and this is important that they can't see you, even though you're in this little car down there, driving this Prius. Okay, so you have to be really, really careful, and this is why I tell people when they're going on the roads, particularly people who come to me and they've been charged with a G2, and there's a G2 driver and they've been charged with an offense. Hey, they get the lecture from me too about this. Hey, yes, I will defend them to the best of my ability. I'll try to get them out of a charge if I can, but the thing is, they get the lecture about having to be responsible.
Yeah.
Hey, be more responsible drivers. Hey, and it's not just trying to keep out of an accident or keep away from getting charges, but you don't want to be injured either.
Yeah. Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
I have people who've been seriously injured in car accidents who are
Well, that's
now
the nub. If you think about it, that's the nub of why we have road traffic laws.
Yeah.
Right? You
Like
don't want
a bicyclist, whether you're a car driver, pedestrian, you can get injured seriously.
Yeah. You don't want pedestrians killed. You don't want people run over by the proverbial bus, and you certainly don't want them run over by your your own personal car.
Right, exactly. You have to be really careful.
Yeah.
And I've seen people tell me that they've even stopped driving themselves because they hit a pedestrian and killed them, although they were not found at fault, but they feel so badly about it.
Well, I would have to say that's all just crossed my mind, that if I was ever charged with that, I would have to consider seriously as to whether I give up driving or not.
Yeah, I do know people who have.
Yeah.
Because that happened to them. And
yeah.
even though they were not charged with dangerous driving or whatever it was that ended up killing the pedestrian, but they felt really bad about it. And they said, oh my God, what if it happens again? I'm going to be, this kind of thing, So these are why you have to be extremely careful.
Yeah.
Right? Not just running afoul of the law, but just for practical purposes.
Yeah.
Right? And also keeping the traffic flowing. Okay, because when everybody follows the rules of the road, traffic runs more smoothly. Whether bicycle lanes are there or not, whether people are using e-bikes or not, whether there's pedestrians on the road, long as everybody is following the rules, everything works fine. And people get to where they're going.
All right. So I kind of think that we've more or less come through to the end of our session today. So if you need to contact Invictus Legal, you can do so at 905-688-5598. Email Angela at weareinvictus.legal or me at peter@weareinvictus.legal. And our website is weareinvictus.legal. And the normal warning for everybody.
Yep. So what I said today, or what we talked about today, is not legal advice. Okay? A lot of practical advice, but not legal advice, and nor was anything else in this series. So if you feel that you have something that you want to talk about, whether you think that there could be a legal issue involved, or if you've been charged with something, or if somebody's suing you, or you need to sue somebody for something, don't take advice from this show or go on to Facebook University or any place like that and talk about it. Call up a paralegal or a lawyer and ask them, to look over your case, and they will tell you. It's confidential when people come in here, and you can talk to us. Even if you feel badly about what you've done, if this is the 15th time you got charged, I don't really care. I don't judge you. My job is to defend you, not to judge you. Okay. We have a person who's a specialist in Highway Traffic Act here. So this is a very important thing. So we don't judge people, and you can talk to us confidentially.
Yep. Okay, and to let everybody know, we've got we're on a series actually now. This is series of shows which are given to us by Alicia Cole, and you can always provide additional show ideas if you want. And next week's one is going to be tenants' rights for dealing with pest control and mold issues.
The cockroaches are taking over. I remember when I used to talk about the different types of cockroaches, and they were talking about German cockroaches and Canadian cockroaches. I said, how can you tell? Do they carry passports or something?
Yeah, they do. Miniature passports, and they're waving their little flag.
I remember there was some discussion going on.
It's the Afghani ones you want to worry about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Some of them are big.
Yeah, they're big. They're big. They bite, right?
Yep. But anyways, we'll have a chat about that next week.
Yeah. All right. So thank you, and have a great day, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye.